What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Luisa. I have not done a sit down video in a very long time because I've been working so hard on the weekly vlogs and just a bunch of music stuff. Actually, really quickly, let me say that, wow, this week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and I just made the connection that my single comes out this Friday.
Wow.
Wow. Music saved my life. Like, I've dealt with mental health my entire life, and music was what got me out of it. Wow, so it kind of like gives me goosebumps right now to think that my single is coming out the week of Mental Health Awareness Week.
That's so exciting.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's great.
Thank you, universe. So anyways, I am back doing a sit down video exactly because it is Mental Health Awareness Week. So I wanted to talk about anxiety, and I decided to bring onto my channel Raina. I'm gonna let her introduce herself in just a second, but I want to talk about her really quick. She was actually my college professor when I went to school at the University of Miami School of Music. She just created such a warm and comfortable environment. I would go to her for anything, for any anxiety I was feeling, when I just needed a place of refuge, because I mean, college is scary. She's an amazing singer. She has her own YouTube channel. You guys have to look at all of that. I'm gonna let her say all of that, but I just wanted to say that she has also struggled with anxiety and has never failed to be a fountain of advice. So
Aw, that's so sweet. Thank you so much for having me on this.
course.
I am really passionate about opening up the dialogue, because even though Luisa was coming to me with things, she probably felt like she was the only student who had problems at the time, and she was one of probably all who had different problems. As a teacher who actually had terrible anxiety herself,
and you never know.
And to me, it always felt so apparent, but it was really important for me to be able to be that place of safety for my students. And also, I learned so much from everything you went through and everything all of my students went through. A mutual admiration club happening right now.
Thank you. So your YouTube channel,
whatever
you want to say.
Raina Mode. If you want to see me perform and put out my originals, because for me too, music is a therapeutic tool. I found no more powerful tool than songwriting and poetry. So if you want to do YouTube /Raina Mode, Instagram Raina's I4Beauty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right, let's get
started.
What we were thinking about doing is literally just having a conversation about anxiety, and most importantly, not so much our backstory with anxiety, because I've been extremely open about my eating disorder. Raina, if you want to say a little bit.
Yeah, I've had anxiety pretty much since I was 19, and it's a lifelong relationship that you learn how to manage, because life changes, you change, you go through new things, and sometimes you feel like you're going backwards and you're revisiting, but had so much help along the way. And conversations like this, those kind of conversations have been some of the most helpful things that have helped me, and that's what we hope to do with you guys.
Talk about what to do in the moments when you feel the anxiety bubbling up, or what to do when you are already stuck in that moment. How do you get out of it? What are some actionable tips that you can do? Because we all know that in those moments, everything is just a blur. I think a great place to start is talking about how you never really know who is going through anxiety or not.
Oh yeah.
Because it's Mental Health Awareness Week, I think it's extremely important to mention that anybody can be going through anxiety or depression or panic disorder. For example, in my case with the eating disorder, you didn't always see it, especially when I was in my binging phase. Nobody could tell that I was in a binging phase because I looked completely normal. But just because you look normal doesn't mean you're not going through something.
As a teacher, I mean, some of my anxiety has definitely gotten in the way of me doing my job. A lot of times you wouldn't know, but inside I'm like falling apart, you know?
Are you serious?
Oh my god!
I would have never guessed that, because you're like the most confident, bubbly person. Like, you just make every classroom so comfortable.
Well, that proves the point.
Yeah, exactly. That proves the point. When I was in high school, and this is crazy because my sister and I were talking about this the other day. My sister and I are 4 years apart, so when she was a freshman, I was a senior. We had different lunch periods, and my mom and I and my sister were all talking about this, how nowadays high school and just in general, being a kid is so hard because of all the judgment, the social media, etc. And so I was like, I used to eat lunch in the bathroom every single day, and my sister was like, you did too? And I'm like,
oh my god, really?
yeah. And I'm like, what? Like,
Wow.
why have we never spoken about this? You know, I remember feeling so ashamed. And it's not because I didn't socialize with people, because when it came to class and homework assignments, group assignments, I was fine. The moment the time came to go into the cafeteria and confront myself with the entire class and not know where to sit, I didn't even want to face it, so I would just eat in the bathroom. And my sister did the exact same thing.
Wow, that's crazy. Sometimes it just feels like daily life becomes a struggle. I think it's so brave that we're doing these things anyway. I mean, look, we're both here. We've clearly both muscled through a lot of pain and fear. You might not know who around you is suffering, is hiding something. I find that this whole experience has made me extremely sympathetic and empathetic. I think also with us, teacher-student relationship, I definitely sensed when LUISA needed to talk. I don't know if I would have been that intuitive with you had I not been going through my own stuff. There is a teacher here who was like amazingly famous, and to this day, he still gets crippling anxiety 2 weeks before a school performance.
What?
Like, school performance. Not a real, like not even a school performance, because he feels like judged by his colleagues that he respects and he's afraid to play in front of people. I started asking teachers. I was absolutely shocked that most of the professors here are terrified of performance.
Are you serious?
I'm outing everybody right now, but nobody is talking to each other about it. I just think that if we just took a moment to acknowledge it, it's really powerful to say, my heart's racing right now. I am really scared that I'm gonna mess up. Even in saying that.
But wait, actually, this is something that I don't agree with, because the way I've learned to manage, because it doesn't go away, but the way I've learned to manage my performance anxiety, which I believe, by the way, is different than the anxiety you face when you're in a stressful situation. Definitely. Of course. So when we talk about anxiety that has to do with a performance, so this is for all my performers, public speakers, whatever you may be, I've learned to reframe those thoughts. So instead of saying I'm nervous, because there's a science behind it, your body on anxiety and excitement is feeling the same exact thing.
It's the way you interpret it.
It's the way you interpret it.
Absolutely.
So if you interpret it as I'm nervous, and you continue putting that out there and convincing yourself that I'm nervous, your brain is going to take those signals and you're nervous. Rather, if you reframe that as a positive experience and reframe it as I'm excited, you might be about to throw up, but eventually...
But you're excited about it.
Exactly. You're going to say it 100 times, but eventually your body's going to realize, oh, these are feelings of excitement.
Yes.
And it reframes it as something positive.
Yes. Well, I totally agree with you for that in the moment and reframing, but I think that there also should be a moment, actually apart from the actual act of performing, to have that conversation, because so many times we're all pretending that we got this. Absolutely. Because we want to get this.
We're human.
We're human, but we're like putting it out there because we're trying to be strong, so that we don't realize that people around us might also be doing that. That's the missing piece of the conversation, because no one then really knows.
Yourself out there, like you are exposing who you are. I'm sure the most confident person in the world is still a human being, and we all have the things that we see as flaws, but are in reality part of what makes us who we are, and we should embrace that.
Allowing yourself to accept that. I think you hit it on the head. You have to tap into, and I do this as a performer, I'm usually more nervous before, but when I'm actually in the zone and performing, I tap into the joy very strongly. I think gratitude pulls us through a lot of things in life. Remember that you want to be up there. It's something that you love doing. Tap into your own passion and joy. And what really gets me through a lot of moments are the feeling that I'm creating, that I'm expressing myself. So even if I'm having negative or scared emotions, I'm gonna extra try to put it into the music.
That is a great point. Like in the moments when you feel fear, not just performing, but in the moments where, you know, when you randomly get sad, having a great day, and then there's a moment where like a thought comes in and it intrudes and it makes me feel sad about something, where it puts me down, I get so frustrated with myself, which by the way is not a good thing. You are a human being and it's okay to feel. Even if you're having the best day ever and something comes in and intrudes and makes you feel a certain way, you have to feel it. Then you can process it and let it go, interpret it however you want, but you have to let yourself feel it. The thing that you just said that really gets me through that is that moment of gratitude. I'm like, okay, LUISA. In this very moment, I am grateful for this, I am grateful for this, I am feeling this. It's okay that I am thinking this, but thank you for showing up. Thank you for making me think about it. You can go now because I'm going to continue on with my life.
That's a really powerful tool. And that's one of the basic tools of meditation.
Absolutely.
Of, you know, when they talk about thoughts being clouds and like, it's okay to acknowledge it and then send it on its way, because that's what the brain does. The brain secretes thoughts, okay? The brain thinks all of the time.
You can't expect yourself to outrun
negative
thoughts.
That's a good way of putting it.
We can't let ourselves get down in those moments that we do have a thought or something real happens. When something real happens, you've got to live through it.
You got to feel it, because if you don't, you repress it. I think a lot of times we end up beating ourselves up because we get into a depressive state or an anxious thought. I wanted to talk about the brain a little bit.
Yeah, please, go for it.
Our brains are hardwired for negativity, meaning for us to be safe, we hear like a loud noise, we're going to look around because our brain has to make sure that we're safe. We have a negativity bias. Some of the most fascinating brain research by a guy named Dr. Rick Hanson. He has an amazing book called Self-Directed Brain Change. The research has shown we are 20 seconds away from making positive permanent thoughts, which means negative, fearful thoughts are hardwired into our brain, but they discovered that if we took 20 seconds to savor positive things that happen to us, wonderful memories, in an experience when something good is happening, don't be distracted, don't move on to the next thing, don't go on your phone, literally count to 20, take it in, feel it, think about it, absorb it, you start to actually grow your brain in a different direction so it becomes more positive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that you just said like don't move on.
Don't
like
move on.
Savor it, take it in.
And I think that's why some of our most powerful positive memories also happen when we're performing, because if you're doing a 4-minute song, we really savor that. Like I can think about performance experiences where I'm so aware of like how beautiful something is or how important this is. Oh, I love it. In a given day, we have a lot of positive things that happen to us, but we don't internalize them unless we spend 20 seconds, which to me is like an amazing piece of research. Another thing for in the moment, I actually wore these on purpose. These are my little mantra bracelets or whatever you want to call them. And they say grace, celebrate life, live in the moment, good vibes only. I'm a big believer in power jewelry and symbolic things that you put on your body. Everything always represents something, okay?
Really?
Yeah, and I'm very thoughtful about it. These bracelets, especially if I think I'm gonna go through a challenge or if I feel like I'm gonna need a reminder, especially teaching. You might see me look at my wrist, but I'm reading Live in the Moment.
Way.
Yeah,
I love that.
It really helps me remember, right?
Actually, I got a tattoo. That idea.
Oh my God, amazing.
Let me show you. You
No.
speak French, right?
I do.
You want to read it?
Oh, joie de vivre. I love it.
I don't know if you can see it.
That's awesome.
But this tattoo means for me that in my moments of intense anxiety, I forget that life is a beautiful 360-degree painting and I am looking at one tiny speck. It's primarily a reminder to look at the big picture and that I am just living one tiny moment in an entire life, which is absolutely beautiful. And the second reasoning is that that tiny moment that may be negative is still part of something beautiful, because life is made up of the bad and the good. So yours braces,
That's
right. This tattoo.
I love it. Even the worst things that have happened to me in my life, I felt like I found purpose. And whether that is so that I can recognize something in someone else and help them, I can learn from it. There's a saying that if you're going through hell, keep going.
Keep going, yeah. I mean,
and I love that one.
Totally. The moments that I appreciate the most from my life, looking back, are actually the most difficult ones.
Wow.
If I could go back, I would redo my anorexia 100%, because I think it's only because of my anorexia that I was able to find such a powerful home in music, and I was able to find that calling that I feel with my music.
Wow.
Which is to make a difference. If I can use my experiences to help somebody else, even one person, then I'm satisfied and fulfilled with the voice that I was given.
We don't necessarily understand why we're going through this. Clearly, both of us are very strong and powerful women.
Oh yeah.
Like for real. And you know, and we have gone through hardships. I don't think that's an accident.
Everybody that you meet is the sum of all of their experiences and everybody that they've ever met. Like, think about that. You are born as a clean slate, but you, Raina, have become Raina because of every single experience that made you who you are, every single person you've ever encountered.
So true.
Every
It's so
obstacle
true.
you've ever encountered.
Yeah.
When you're meeting somebody, you're meeting all of that.
Wow.
Think about that. Those experiences that we're talking about are exactly what makes me connected to you, Raina, as who you are today. When Raina and I were talking, we wanted to talk about actionable tips in the moment, and then tips and things that have helped us throughout our life in general. So finding what it is that makes you happy, what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel comfortable, and doing all those things, but also doing all those things without being so tied to them that if you don't have them, you are completely in a tornado.
That's important too,
because the home is inside you, Raina.
You know, and that's another tip, because I think the most powerful thing, and sometimes when you're going through an anxious moment, you feel like you cannot breathe. Like I've been through situations where I felt like I can't breathe.
My anxiety plays in as not being able to swallow and not being able to breathe.
Mine too, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Did not know that.
Those two exact
things.
Wow.
The fact that, like you said, the home is inside of you, really doing work on deep breathing, meditation, and practicing accessing breath. Because it's always there. If there was ever a moment that we actually didn't breathe, we would not be alive.
You know, I tell myself that. Ever since I was a kid, I like intuitively did this. I was like, Lou, you're breathing. You're alive. So even though you feel like you can't breathe, you're still here.
You're breathing. Never a moment when you haven't. So even if you feel that way, like slow it down, take a breath, that you can have with you always. Yeah, that's not a medication. That's something that you were born with and you have for your entire life.
Is there a routine you practice daily?
I think you and I both share exercise, although I'm not as much of a badass as she is. Like I'm so inspired by her exercise and her vlog, like totally like trying to change my life now.
Oh, thank you.
In general, it's about balance and knowing yourself. And when you're not feeding parts of your soul. Remember those little Tamagotchis?
Oh yeah!
Okay, so like if we all have like different levels of those, like recognizing when our little alarms are going off.
You actually just brought up something so important that I wanted to touch upon. Be in touch with yourself and get connected with yourself. And what I mean by that is when I'm doing something that I intuitively know or feel is not right for me, but I don't want to accept it yet, I can't breathe. When I subconsciously, my heart just knows something's not right, I start getting that sensation of not being able to breathe. That's when you need to connect with yourself, because that's your soul telling you this is not good for me in the long run. Like you need to stop wasting your energy on this, stop wasting your brain power on this, because this is not serving you. So many problems arise when you are disconnected and you don't want to listen to your body telling you this is not serving you, and you keep fighting. So there's this like constant fight of you against yourself, and I really believe your heart is going to win.
You can't necessarily correct something immediately, right? It could be a horrible job and you need a job right now, and so the balance of understanding yourself and then being gentle with the process and accepting that maybe you're gonna just have to power through some things.
Find the best in those moments.
Yes, exactly.
Not every moment is perfect.
No.
But it is what you make of it.
Oh my God, life is what you make of it.
Have you ever heard the expression like, I get to wake up early, I get to go to work? Like instead of, you never heard that?
No, I love that.
Oh my God,
That's
this is
powerful.
great. Instead of saying like, I have to wake up super early. I get to wake up early. I get to...
It's all a privilege. I think both of us have that gratitude too. Yeah. I'm so highly aware of how grateful I am to be alive and to experience things and to see beauty. And I think keeping that sort of beginner's mindset with your own life keeps you, first of all, young, in touch with yourself, and allows you to really vibrantly be in the world.
When you find the things that make you feel good, go after them.
Do them.
Don't let anything stand in your way. I mean, how you feel, how you choose to see life, it's all a choice. It's that simple. It's not easy, but it's simple.
It's a simple
choice.
Let's say in the moment you're going through a very anxious thing, you could de-escalate it. Whatever it is that I think I'm fearing, I'm actually not fearing, and there's really the consequences are not that dire. Most of the time I feel like I'm afraid of my own fear. Almost like we could deal with what happens. Like what's the worst that's gonna happen? Sometimes you wake up and you just are immediately filled with like fear or dread. I literally won't get out of bed until I can take control of that, like the mental horses, and make them guide the day in my mind the way I want it to go. Not the way I'm afraid it's gonna go.
That's a really good tip. I'm actually gonna take this and like share my morning routine. Like I said, I have to be careful because when I don't get to do my morning routine the way I want to, I'm like evil, but I can't let that happen. You know, I have to like be a human being and be balanced and like let loose a little bit. For me, my morning routine is extremely important, and I actually can tell you the day that I started doing this.
Wow.
January 26th, 2016.
Wow.
Like, that's how big of a difference it makes in
Wow.
my life. Since then, as much as I possibly can, my morning routine is this. I wake up and the first thing I say is thank you. Thank you to whatever it is you believe in, God, the universe, whatever it is. Just thank you that I opened my eyes today. I get up, I make my coffee. It's so therapeutic for me to make my coffee.
I love watching her make her coffee.
Oh, yeah, it is so therapeutic for me to make my coffee. I don't know.
It's a ritual.
You
Well,
find
when
your
you think about it, like in so many cultures, coffee making, tea preparation, those rituals are very good for your mind.
Exactly. It's something I'm really present in. Like, once I make my coffee, as I'm having it, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for.
Wow.
But I feel them. I feel the gratitude.
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
And writing it by hand.
No, I do it on my phone.
Okay, that's okay.
I use the 5-minute journal. I use their app, but you actually write it out and you feel it. So that's a huge, like, you need that ingredient. Then I write 3 intentions. But when I say intentions, they're not to-dos. There are 3 either things that I want to work on as a person, as a human being that day. Like, I want to be kinder, things that will further me in my career. Sometimes it's that. And have a because. It's extremely important to have a because. Because when you have a reason, like, you actually have a reason to stick to it. So gratitude, intentions, then I meditate for 10 minutes or 5, depending on the day, how much time I have. And I add on to those 5 or 10 minutes, another 5 or 10 minutes of visualization. Whether it may be something I'm dreaming of, a life goal I have, a lifelong dream I have. I picture myself selling out Madison Square Garden sometimes.
Perfect.
Other days I'll visualize just a great day, especially if I'm stressed out that day. So that's cool. That's where I'm going to add in the horses thing. And then I go to the gym, I start my day, and
in brain research, which I'm involved a lot in lately, it's a real feeling universe. So we feel our way into our goals. When people not feeling it, they're not visualizing it, they're not internalizing it.
Internalizing, that's the word.
It's not as powerful.
Remember the other day I told you that I booked my first commercial, yay.
Yeah!
I was telling Raina, I woke up at 4 that day because I knew that if I was gonna approach such an important day without grounding myself and doing the things that make you feel better, like remember, you are in control. It's all your choice. If I was gonna confront that day without doing the work, it wouldn't have gone nearly as well. So
I do meditations. I tend to do them at night before I go to bed.
Really?
Because it kind of unwinds my brain, and I often find that at the end of it, like a 10-minute one with like my Amazon Alexa, Headspace one.
Oh, you use Headspace?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Calm's amazing. A lot of times I would be up at night with thoughts. Like, it was really, and it's still like sometimes a hard time to fall asleep, but you struggle with thoughts in general. They're just like running and going, and so you need something to, like, yours is like a getting yourself started. You also need something to kind of take yourself down. And also you're very grateful for like the day you just had, the things you did. I'm struck by how long a day is, how much we actually do.
Right?
It's an amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the most important pieces of advice my dad ever gave me. My dad was like, what's the one thing you and Laura Pausini have in common, that you both have in common with the entire world? I was like, bull, like, I have no idea. And he's like, time. There is absolutely no difference between you and Laura Pausini and Beyonce and whoever, Bill Gates, you want to think about. You both have the equal amount of time in one day.
This is true.
So what makes the difference is how you decide to spend that time.
Right. I think sometimes people get very down on themselves. If they are having a bad day and they let it kind of snowball and pile on. And that's what they say about negative thoughts. First of all, it creates a spiral. So they stick to each other. So you have this one thought, oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I'm probably not going to do that. And then it just... Realizing that the day is long, realizing that that was one moment in the day and one thought, and you can choose whether or not you want to give it power or you want to let that moment be a moment that you let pass. It's like that cloud, right?
That comes with practice and awareness. So I think that the strength to be able to say, like what you just said, this is just
definitely.
a moment, that takes, it's not easy.
No,
that's probably
that
the
takes
hardest.
Years.
Yeah, that's probably one of the hardest
of
things.
Self-help meditation therapy.
Having the awareness to realize, like, I am about to go down a spiral. Let me do something to help myself.
It takes a long time of knowing yourself. Things like journaling, things like writing down your thoughts.
That's one more thing. I forgot journaling. I journal every single night, and if for some reason important because in this, I'm like you, I'll prioritize sleep. Like if
Right.
it's really late and I really don't have the energy or the time to journal that night, I will immediately journal the next day. I won't let another day go by.
That's awesome.
Because then you fall off the habit routine. I read
Right.
that in James Clear's book. You should definitely read this book.
Okay.
It's called Atomic Habits. You would love it.
Oh, I would love that.
So he basically says if you fall off the wagon, only let it happen one day. Like the
Right.
next day, get right
Go
back
back.
on it. In addition to those, I do like quarterly journals.
Mm-hmm.
So every 3 months, like at the beginning of the year, I'll have like my checklist
Right.
for what I would like to like accomplish during
Wow.
the year. And every 3 months, I'll go back and say like, okay, this is what I did get done. This is where I'm still lacking a little bit. I can,
Right.
you know, when you're about to do something, that makes sense that you're afraid of it, you know?
Oh my God, yes.
How do you help yourself? Like, how do you make it easier upon yourself?
Immersion therapy, basically it's immersing yourself in the experience you're afraid of. So I started saying yes to things so that I can start, and this is kind of taking in the good too. Like I accumulate good experiences so that the one thing that I have in my mind isn't the one bad thing. Presence is the opposite of anxiety because they say anxiety exists in the future and in the past. So anything, even like touching the fabric, having your feet touch your shoe, they always talk about that. Bring you back to the moment, bring you back to earth. Another thing that I do, and I'm sure you do too, I practice. So,
oh yeah,
yeah, I really want to internalize it before
Yeah.
I'm up there. It's like my theory as a teacher.
What?
I don't feel like people are actually practicing if they're practicing alone. I think you can only practice
No way.
performance in a nervous state. In my voice lessons, I took over as the head of contemporary voice. Yay! And I have lessons of 3 or 4.
You can practice something
A million times.
billion times, and yes, you can internalize it as much as you want,
But you go out there and like all the conditions of your body are different.
well, I'm afraid of flying.
Okay, I am too.
Oh.
It's a loss of control. I think we're both afraid of things that we feel like we have no control.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, we are both
We're the
control
same.
freaks.
If you couldn't
Control
tell.
freaks. We have to work on that though. Like
Yes.
it's not something I'm proud of. It's
No.
something that I definitely am completely aware of
Right.
and am very careful in my interactions with people and the things that I do so that I don't let it
Yes.
take control of me. The actionable tip is that there's something called an anchor thought. When you're starting to feel anxiety because you're about to confront something that really freaks you out, be ready for that moment by having something called an anchor thought, which is basically a positive thought.
Right.
Like something that reframes what you're saying.
Wow.
It's reframing again, but in a different
like
manner.
that.
So for example, as a little kid, and I just read it in Mel Robbins' book, The 5-Second Rule, great book by the way. Great book.
I'm gonna read all these books.
Great book. I would picture myself arriving in Italy, hugging my grandma.
Yes.
So what does that mean? That
Right.
means the plane didn't crash.
Right.
You know?
Another thing I heard about anxiety is it's like praying for the outcome you don't want. Because when you put a
Wow.
lot of energy into
Yeah,
that,
the universe doesn't know the difference.
no. So like, why are we putting the worst possible version of it in our minds?
You've
It's
obviously
bad.
read The Secret.
Oh yes.
Okay, exactly.
Love The Secret.
That's exactly what the law of attraction states. Like the universe doesn't know if
Mm-hmm.
what you're visualizing and believing and feeling and manifesting, it doesn't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
No.
It just gets the message and it's what you're
Right.
believing.
Yeah.
You're believing the negative part of it and that's what it's going to bring you.
At the end of the day, you're not alone. And I think that's like probably the most important thing that we want to convey. Being open enough to have this conversation.
And being empathetic. When somebody does something bad to you, chances are it's a reflection of how they're feeling and what they're going through. And it's
Right.
important to remember that. Don't immediately just blame people. Like you never know what's going on. And I
Right.
think that's what's so important about Mental Health Awareness Week is that we're all going through something. As we reach the end, because we've been babbling for a while,
Like, let's all just admit, like, we're all terrified and we're doing it anyway, so that makes us really strong.
and whichever way your anxiety decides to manifest itself, in my life alone, it's manifested itself in a billion different ways, like depression, panic attacks, anorexia,
Yeah.
binge eating disorder. It doesn't matter how it manifests itself. The solution is along the same lines, like getting in contact with yourself, feeling grounded in yourself, knowing and learning what's the best way that works for you.
Treat yourself well. That's the only thing you can really control.
Self-love.
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 That's it.
That's it. Love yourself.
Love yourself.
You're a human being and that's what makes you beautiful.
That's right. Yay!
All right, I think we talked a lot.
Yeah, we sure did.